And I'm here to educate you today about identity theft, which is a subject that many think that it's just on the internet. It doesn't exist, and I'm safe, I cannot be affected. So I'm here just to educate you today. So my goal is that after today, you know what it is, what are the different areas, and what you can do about it to protect yourself. So identity theft has been the fastest growing white-collar crime. It's safer today to commit an identity theft crime than to rob a bank. It's much less dangerous. People do it from overseas, offshore, whatever, and they don't have any fear about that. So in our short presentation, we're going to see what is identity theft, the cost of identity theft. There are some important legislation, and as most of us here are small business owners, it pertains to small business owners because there are specific legislations about business owners and identity theft. And of course, what are the industry responses? So what is identity theft? Most people think about identity theft as only the financial side. And the problem is that the media is misleading the public because all what we see out there on television, on newspapers, on radio, is what the banks and the credit cards are telling us. Credit card fraud, bank account fraud, and actually it's less than 23% of the problem is financial. And what the banks and the credit cards are offering, they should do that anyway because they keep our money, and that one we're losing it. So there are 5 common types of identity theft. The first place is social identity theft. That's really the number one in all the situations that we see out there. There is driver license identity theft, medical, criminal, and financial. And it's an international crime, and access to an attorney may be critical because it's a legal problem. The first area is driver license identity theft. And imagine you may be driving back home after this meeting and be stopped on a routine traffic check, or maybe because you didn't stop at the stop sign, you did a California roll, and then officer's waiting for you in the corner and he asks for your driver license and registration. He goes back to his cruiser, he runs your license plate, and suddenly he comes back to your door with this pause. That's not a good sign. And he asks you to step out of the vehicle. Because maybe when he ran your license plate, he realized that somebody has been using your driver license in Dallas, Texas, got a bunch of tickets or got a DUI, didn't show up to court, and now there is a bench warrant for your arrest, and you may not know it. So you are going to jail that moment. And those things are happening there every day. Because would you agree that if teenagers can have fake IDs, couldn't the criminals do a better job? Yeah. And that's basically an area that most people don't think about. And this is just an example of the next one, which is Social Security Administration. And the department has discovered, that's a letter that was written by them, the department has discovered that identification information in your file is inconsistent with corresponding records at the Federal Security Administration. Before your document can be renewed, any inconsistencies will need to be corrected. You will need to present legal documents that certify your current legal name, social security number, and date of birth. But that's exactly what the criminals are using. So how do you prove that you are you? That's a major problem. In another example, an 82-year-old grandmother quit driving during the Truman administration. And in 2001, she suddenly found herself in what she described as a living hell. After one of her neighbors, arrested on drunk driving charges, pretended to be her. I was told there were warrants for my arrest. I was afraid to answer the phone. And those things happen. It has no age, no color, no origin, no sex. It doesn't matter. So social security identity theft is where thieves use your social security number to gain employment or to report income under your name. And there are many implications for that. Thieves take the income, but they don't pay the taxes, so you are left with the tax liability. Wanted criminals use their social security identity so they can get employment without being found. Illegal immigrants use their social security to gain employment. And thieves and criminals use their social security number for employment, medical, financial, criminal, school, and many other things. So you see that the financial side is actually really the easiest way to deal with, area to deal with. And a Chicago woman applied for a job at the local Target department store and was denied. And the reason was that they told her, you are already working here. And a further investigation basically unveiled that there were 37 other employers using her social security. Because here's the thing, once somebody got hold on your information, and that's what the statistic shows, you are 52% likely to be a victim again and again and again. Because, you know, when a drug dealer is out of drugs, they're out of business. But an identity theft is never out of business because they keep reselling the information again and again. So if your information has been compromised, somebody is using it again and again and again. So people need to wake up to this problem. They are destroying people's credits, social security benefits, and everything else. And that's from MSNBC a couple of years ago. The worst area of identity theft is medical. And medical identity theft is actually the one area that can kill you. Because when people use your medical card to go to the doctor, and they, let's say, go through a bunch of tests, including blood tests, and they have a different blood type than you, where do you think their information goes to? Your record. So now you may be involved in a car accident and the paramedics come, you know, along the side, the roadside, and they need to give you a blood transfusion, and they give you the wrong blood because that's what's in the record. You die. So people are dying today because of medical identity theft. So a few things could happen. Your rates could go up, or your coverage could be cancelled or used up, because they're using actually your coverage. You could owe thousands of dollars for procedure you never had, and you could be unable to obtain medical or life insurance or other coverage and or employment because of conditions that you do not have, like AIDS and many other things. So this is pretty interesting. If the person who steals your health identity has allergies or specific medical conditions that collide with yours, for instance, when you go in for care, you may experience a dangerous drug interaction or unknowingly be denied potentially life-saving medication or treatments because they will assume the thief's medical information is yours. And the problem is that as the healthcare system transitions from paper-based to electronic, it became worse. This crime may become easier to commit and harder to trace. And victims may find it more difficult to recover from medical identity theft as medical errors are disseminated and redisseminated through computer networks and other medical information sharing pathways. So when you go and fix it in one record, when they all get synchronized, it contaminates all the other records. And that's why it's something which is really a nightmare to try to fix a medical identity theft. Character criminal identity theft, where criminals are using somebody else's identity. So a few things could be happen. You could be arrested. You could be denied employment because of fraudulent criminal records found during routine background checks. Security checkpoints at airports could become a nightmare for you. And you could be denied a passport and be barred from leaving the country. And the October 2005 issue of Kiplinger's Personal Finances portrayed a different side of identity theft when they devoted an entire section to that. And what they said, could losing your wallet land you in jail? Has anyone here saw the movie Identity Thief? I highly recommend you to go and watch it because you would see how somebody's lives became upside down because they lost their wallet. Lost his job, all his credit was blocked out, was arrested, and many, many other things. Financial identity theft is where thieves are using your information to open new accounts or to gain access to existing accounts. So they rob your accounts, they rack up outrageous charges on credit card, take up new loans, and more. They destroy your credit, forcing you to pay higher rates, and you can absolutely be held responsible for the debt incurred by thieves in your name. So there is a trend with the financial institutions that they try to put the blame on the consumer. So even though many times it's their fault, they still hold us responsible for that. So one of the things that I highly recommend, and it's free, go to this website, www.consumer.gov/ID theft, or you can call the 877 number, toll-free number, and order the FTC report. Very important. It's free. They will mail it to you and go through that. And when you read this, it will become crystal clear why it is good for the company, if you work for a company or if you own a company, and the employees to have an ID theft service that offers a monitoring, restoration, and other things to help with that situation, because it's much more than just the financial responsibility. This is just an excerpt from the report. The Fair Credit Billing Act establishes procedures for resolving billing errors on your credit accounts. And to take advantage of the laws, consumer protection, you must, and this is something which is quite funny, you need to send your letter so that it reaches the creditor within 60 days. If an identity thief changes the address on your account and you didn't receive the bill, your dispute letter still must reach the creditor within 60 days of when the creditor would have mailed the bill out. So if somebody went into the post office, and I don't know, has any one of you ever changed their address in the post office? What does it take to do that? One form, put it into the box, and that's it. And that's what usually thieves are doing, especially before the tax season, before you get those documents from the IRS with your social. So if they go out and they change your address, so now all your mail is routed to a different account, and you didn't get all these bills, they stay, you are still responsible. And that's why it's so ridiculous, because they still require you to submit the letter within the 60 days, even if you didn't get that. This is another example. The Korinki family was sued by Homecoming Financial Network, division of GMAP, for $75,000 plus attorney fees. And what actually happened, an imposter got hold of a line of credit, switched the address, and the family never received the outstanding bills. So Homecoming claimed that the family had been negligent, and they were slow to discover and report the identity theft, and as such, they were liable for any and all sums attributed to this negligence. And their attorney said, victims who don't have the means to find a good lawyer may be losing out in battles with financial institutions. So each year, there are 7 to 10 million Americans that fall prey to identity theft. From massive data brokerage firms to tiny local banks, your identity is irretrievably out there. So that's why I said, there is no way you can prevent identity theft. The only question is, how do you reduce the damages? It's all about risk mitigation. So what I want is to introduce you to the database you. There is you, and there is the database you. And the database you is more important than you. And the reason is, everything about us is out there in databases. So you could shred your mail all day long. You could watch the waiters in the restaurant with your credit card all day long. It's not about that anymore. Yes, from time to time it happens. But everything about you. So if you have insurance, it's out there in databases. Your driver license, your military records, your criminal history, your real estate deeds, your medical records, your phone numbers and tracking info, your car registration, social security number, your addresses, your fingerprints and DNA is out there in databases. Your legal history, your credit history, your birth certificates. And identity theft today is organized crime. So they break into computer networks, they break into businesses, and they're looking for information, not for money anymore. So, and just to let you know the good news, most of these databases were already breached. So don't worry about that. And this is just an example of lost, hacked, or stolen information. ChoicePoint, 145,000. City Financial, 3.9 million records. MasterCard, 40 million. AOL, 92 million. Any vets here? Did you guys get that letter saying your information was breached? That was about, what, a year ago or 2 years ago? And they say, we'll give you 12 or 6 months of credit monitoring. Now you understand how credit monitoring that only monitors the credit can really help you with all these other areas. Bank of America, 1.2 million. Axiom, 1.2 billion. And 2 out of the 3 credit bureaus in the US, those are the ones who are watching our credit and keeping track of all of our financial, right? 2 out of the 3, their databases has been breached. The only one that has not been is Experian, basically. So that shows me that it's out of our control. The only question is, what do you do if something happens? So you can control the database, and that's what's important to understand. Identity thieves are increasingly finding the jackpot is not in your mailbox or kitchen trash bag, but the computer files stored at your chiropractor, accountant, or doctor. And the future is not burglaries of your home, but of dentists, CPA, insurers, and so on. People whose identities have been stolen can spend months or years and thousands of dollars cleaning up the mess, and thieves have made of their good name and credit records. And according to USA Today, identity theft is the #1 criminal concern for law enforcement over the next decade. I mean, it has been already the #1 consumer complaints in the last, I think, about 11 or 13 years. And that's pretty funny. Thieves are so bold that they held a conference in Kiev, the Ukraine, for people interested in breaking into this growth industry. So they hold their own conferences. So here is, as business owners, some important legislation, and I'll go briefly about that. So if you own a business, if you have employees, if you have customers, and this is just a disclaimer that I'm not an attorney, so I'm not giving legal advice, but the following are very important legislations about identity theft. The FACTA, the HIPAA security rule, Gramm-Leach-Bliley safeguard rules, and individual state laws. And all this, there's law basically, they put the liabilities back onto the business owners because they can't get hold of the thieves. They need to find someone to blame, so they put it on the business owners. So I'll jump into what's out there in the industry. What are the solutions that you could find? So there are about 2 or 3 different solutions out there. The first solution is reimbursement policies. And these policies play a part, but they only help after you became aware of the theft. Reimbursement policies are not proactive, and some ID theft problems cannot be corrected after the fact, such as arrest records and so on. You must pay out of pocket first, and then file a claim, and then hope for an underwriter approval for reimbursement. And this process can take weeks or months and be very frustrating. Your insurance agent does not do the work for you, and you carry the full burden of clearing your name. And as you probably know, that insurance companies are not in the business of paying, so when you need to submit a claim and hope that you get reimbursed, it has some drawbacks of that. And reimbursement policies do not pay for the fraudulent losses you may think they do. The second solution out there is monitoring services. And that's basically what the banks and the credit cards are putting out there. And monitoring credit activity is the single best method to detect identity theft. But monitoring helps primarily with financial identity theft. It doesn't help with your social, doesn't help with your driver license, doesn't help with your medical, neither with your criminal record. So monitoring services often covers only the accounts you have with the company offering the service. So if you get something from Bank of America, it only covers Bank of America. If you have 3 different banks and 3 different credit card companies, usually what they offer you is only pertains to their accounts. Monitoring services do just that, monitor. They notify you that the nightmare is beginning, but do nothing to help you. Your real headache associated with identity theft is the cost of hundreds of hours that it takes to restore your identity. Then there is another solution which is called restoration services. Resolution provides phone consultation, which is vital but is not enough. And these services only provides guidance, leaving you to clear your good name. It takes you an average of 600 hours, that's according to the Federal Trade Commission, of work to clear your name, if you ever do. And professional stills identity thieves doesn't, it just makes